Hey everyone, this is Mike Dot, and I'm here with Afromania, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, the Xbox Partner Showcase has come and gone, and there's a few games on that showcase that we'd like to talk about, along with some other news, including Rockstar Games wanting to bring workers back into the office, and that has caused a bit of a stir. And some news with WB Games looking to step away from the AAA gaming industry. There's a lot to talk about today, which is pretty cool. And after that long intro, I'd like to say, hey, Afromania, how's it going?
Yeah, man, I'm good. I just woke up after that intro, so it's been good. No, but I'm chilling, man. It's good, man. Good vibes. We're going to have a good podcast today, a lot to talk about, so I'm pumped for that.
Okay, so getting into news before we get to the Xbox showcase. Rockstar Games, there is news about them wanting to step away from remote work and now focus more on bringing employees back into the office in order to get their workflow going again. And Rockstar employees apparently are not happy about being called back into the office due to the pandemic, forced a lot of people out of the office, and people apparently been just really used to just working at home for the longest time. So seeing them having to go back, yeah, I understand why they're so upset. But what is your thoughts on this, Afro?
Just like you said, so the reason why a lot of these things were established first of all, working from home is not new. It's not a new thing. It's mostly a luxury for certain workers that have the ability to be able to work remote. However, like you said, with the issues with the pandemic, it changed a lot of the workforce scale at this moment. So just like you said, I am of a couple of things. At one end, it depends. Now, I think in the article, workers were did they have the choice to work at home, or was it like a hybrid combination where they come in, say, like 3 days in the week, you get to work home at 2, but you come in for 3 days? What was the whole situation? What was the whole work preparation on that?
I'm not too sure. I mean, I've never really looked too big into how Rockstar does their games. All I know is that they back in the past, they were just known for like very controversial stuff, and then
well, okay, even with that, you know what, it really depends on I think the workers in situations like that. I can see where people are coming from, especially right now in terms of how the economy is going at the moment with inflation and everything that's big. You know, for a person that has found, comfort in working at home, they could probably have found the vibe. Maybe their place has a special office where they can go and do their business, so they're able to separate their home life from the work life and be able to have that balance. Clearly, it saves a lot of money from traveling and commute, and I feel like you can still get most of the same production done through maybe Zooms and through communicating with your teams if you're tight knit a lot. Like if you're really good and you communicate a lot, I think you can get some of the work done. However, in that same realm, I'm okay with the hybrid style, because I feel like you also, as a person who works, you also kind of want to have those two worlds separate. Like you want to be able to know that your home is your home, so you can kind of rest at the same time, be able to go and work. You leave your work at work so you can just chill at home. Again, I don't know how production has worked though, but based on the article from what I read, it seems like a lot of people were very upset. I think that people found out they were still feeling a little bit more productive, or still be able to carry the same amount of production if they were in Rockstar Studios happening. So I don't know, maybe, I know a lot of these companies have been trying to get a lot of people back, and there's been a lot of pushback on that. In that situation, I'm a little bit over the place with it. I can understand why you would want more people in-house so they can kind of work more close-knit and stuff like that. But again, with a lot of the situations that happen with the economy, I can see why a lot of these employers are a little bit upset about trying to be forced back into the office, especially if they were I guess, promises made that, yeah, even though with the pandemic restrictions lifted, that they will still be able to contain this work-life balance. So that's my thought on that.
Okay, so yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from with the whole work-life balance thing and the whole issue with the economy being as it is. Having to focus on going back into the office means either driving, and that's a lot of gas money that you gotta spend. That's another expense that that a lot of people are having trouble affording. Even me, myself in particular, has been struggling with getting gas money in order to just get to and from work. So that's another expense that you got to worry about again. And there's also have to you also got to just worry about having to deal with the restrictions of working in the office again. And like in the article points out, people are worried about having to deal with crunch and deadlines again, whereas working at home, at least you had a little bit more leisure and more time to spend with friends and family and whatnot when you're at the home. So there's less to worry about there. Here's the thing. Working from home requires a lot of discipline. I know this very well because as someone who freelanced for 7 years working as a writer and an editor for gaming news outlets, working from home does require you to have a lot of focus and determination to make sure you're getting the work done, because they're really, unless you have to work with a specific app that's clocking your time, there's virtually no way that the company knows that you're on the clock and that you're doing your work. So that's a lot of concern for like higher ups at companies to make sure that all the people that are working remotely are doing what they're supposed to be doing. As someone who worked from home again, I didn't have a lot of discipline and I had issues struggling doing my work sometimes. But because if you're working in a place with a lot of distractions or you're easily distracted, your productivity is obviously not going to be high. So yeah, a lot of businesses have to worry about that.
No, and I understand that. It really isn't a gray area decision based on, individuals. Again, I don't know exactly how much, how many workers are affected by this. Maybe some people are cool about, yeah, cool, and whatever, I'll go back into the office again for that home life balance situation. And like you said, not everybody is capable of having that discipline of working at home. Again, like you said, your home is your home. You want it to be your sanctuary. You don't want to mix home with work. However, like again, based on what the article is saying, it seems like some people were comfortable with that home life balance and we're able to show that discipline too. Again, like you said, even with families too, think of if you're like like mothers or fathers right now who have kids right now, childcare is expensive. Like it's a big expense right now for kids. So to know that the fact that you at least had that option, hey, the kid can stay home with me while I'm doing my work, I mean, that's a really big deal for a lot of families moving forward. And now that kind of Rockstar is kind of pulling forward, because again, one of the biggest reasons why they want these workers back in, because of GTA 6 is literally right around the corner. So it is a gray area between workers. And I definitely can see the argument between both of us that we made about that topic.
Yep, very much so. All right, now shifting over to the next topic, Warner Brothers Discovery decided they want to shift away from live service games, claiming that it's too quote unquote volatile. Okay, and they want to focus more on mobile and free to play and live service gaming. You want to start off with this?
Yeah, so a nice little article happened. So there was a little bit of a Morgan Stanley event that happened right now, and I think one of the major people that came up here, I think one of the major CCOs, I think GB Parrett, I think I messed up that name, busted that up. The WB game boss basically went on to saying how, and I'm going to basically paraphrase this, that they want to focus more on the AAA game space entirely, and like you said, make that shift more into mobile and live service games, which is very ironic because one of their biggest games that actually did well was Hogwarts Legacy, which, if I remember, made what, 23 million in revenue in dollars.
Was the most best-selling game
under Warner Brothers
last year,
and even for Warner Brothers moving forward. So for them to kind of double down on a formula right now that has really have video gamers up in arms is a little bit concerning moving forward. And on top of that, you would also have to be concerned about even certain titles right now. You think about a game like Mortal Kombat right now that has succumbed to some of this live service style elements that are being added in terms of adding with CAD shops and all these little elements that kind of hurt the Mortal Kombat 1 experience as of date. It definitely an even bigger hurt more than a game than Suicide Squad tries to kill the Justice League. I know it kills Justice League. I kind of messed up on the title, but either then, it's a little shocking for them to kind of announce that, even though evidence has pointed that this model's not working and gamers are kind of pissed off about it.
Okay, so Warner Brothers basically admitting that AAA gaming is too risky. I would say that's an admission that they don't know what they're doing when it comes to AAA gaming, because to say that it's too volatile is an absolute lie, because there's a handful of games that are proving that AAA gaming can still do very well. All you have to do is just focus on what the customer wants and not focus on what your investors want. And I feel like a lot of these companies are just focusing on the investor side of things, which is just an absolute shame, because if they're going to focus on the AAA mobile gaming market, you have to go against Genshin Impact. You have to go against Nikkei, Goddess of Victory. And those games are pulling millions of dollars in revenue and profit. And you want to know why those games are pulling in so much money? Because of things like fan service, super fun stories that don't push like messages on you. They don't get in the way of what the player wants. Those games pull in millions of dollars, and I don't feel like companies like WB Games can pull that off on a very realistic level to compete against games like that.
Well, it depends. One of the games that I think I guess it really depends on what Warner Brothers catalog has, where they're able to comfortably be able to maybe cater or fabricate this mobile / free to play and live service games that they can kind of fit into it. I think one of the games that we sat down and talked about, and actually I think there was even a little bit of a test run, was the Quidditch game, Hogwarts Quidditch game, which I kind of felt like kind of has that ability to be a decent like free to play service game in terms of like the sports realm of games that are out there. So they do have some games like that they can kind of take from their IPs, from the Warner Brother IP, and be able to fit it into these models. The issue that I am having though with Warner Brothers is, like you said, you're taking away established games that have done well, a la a Mortal Kombat, and you're trying to shoehorn them into one of these models when clearly the game's not built around one of those models. That I'm a little bit concerned of the direction of where WB Games is going, just for the sake of trying to bring in more revenue. I understand, like you said, again, like we just said earlier, economy's a little bit tough, budgets are tightening up a little bit, again, even though we continue to hear how the CEOs and investors are making billions of dollars and having these golden parachutes attached to their backs. But, and unfortunately, was that video game industry showing its sign of layoffs in all waves of all sections of the game industry. But for Warner Brothers to kind of go in that route, it is a little bit concerning, and I think it's a little bit tone deaf in terms of exactly like you said what gamers want. Again, I think they just want really good storytelling games. I think they want really good games with fun gameplay, action, just a fun, tailored experience to that gamers would like to enjoy.
Yeah, and I do feel that even though they're, again, competing with the likes of Genshin and Nikkei, I do feel like they can pull it off if they just make sure that it's as fan servicey as possible. They could, again, go back into the well and focus on more DC stuff. They could, I don't know, work on a Matrix game or something. I believe they have access to the Matrix or something like that. I mean, a reboot of the Matrix Online, I would like to see that.
That's totally, No, you're right. Then the Matrix, they have the Matrix. They definitely have a Game of Thrones for IP. That's a big one. And then, I mean, they have Looney Tunes. If we want to try to bring that back in some weird, wacky way, they can possibly pull that out.
I mean, they had Looney Tunes like mobile games, like one in particular, I believe, was like a turn-based RPG Looney Tunes game. Yeah. Which was okay from what I heard. The only reason I even know about that game is because they added Big Chungus as his own character. Even though Big Chungus is just like fat Bugs Bunny, they added him in the game as his own separate character. Interesting. Which is goofy, but I mean, that's a form of fan service, I guess. Yeah. And that being said, I was having debates of whether or not Multiverses was going to become a buy-to-play game, but hearing this news, I'm almost 100% certain that Multiverses is going to stick to being a free-to-play game now. Yeah. So
it seems like that's where they're leaning towards and going the microtransaction route.
Yeah, and
for a lot of these games,
it does seem like we should be getting news for Multiverses very soon, because I did hear rumors that announcement is going to be made soon with the whole reveal of a McDonald's promotion. That sounds weird, but also could work. If you go to McDonald's, get a Happy Meal, and then you get an unlock code for a character or a skin. Yeah, could be cool.
That could be interesting. That definitely could be an interesting partnership. A little bit of cross synergy. If that's the route that they're gonna go to, though. But for me, I think there's a place for there's these models, there's a place for everything. I think in the world of gaming too. I just worry with Warner Brothers Discovery, if they just focus this just for profits, I think it could do more damage to their property and IPs moving forward, instead of just, like you said, focusing on just making a really good game and just kind of diversify it, giving people the options and not have every game have these particular models being shoehorned into them. That's a big concern.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle again with the competition, and obviously live service gaming is not as lucrative as it used to be. So it's just going to be very it's gonna be an issue for them. I think they just jump from one problem to another, saying that AAA gaming is it's just not where it is, and then we have to switch our focus.
The industry right now is very reactive. It's very reactive instead of being proactive right now in terms of the situations that are happening. I get it with the economy and everything, and it just seems like, again, with Warner Brothers doing what they're doing, it's a very reactive situation and aren't trying to bring in a lot of money instead of being proactive and just like you said, sticking to what works.
And yes. And these companies know exactly what they need to do, but they're listening to people that clearly are just looking at numbers, and not actually looking at the market. It's just this weird backwards way of thinking.
Yeah, that's that old school way of thinking. I get it. Yep.
Okay, so getting on to the last topic, more of a fun thing to discuss is the Xbox Partner Showcase for March just came and gone, and there was some interesting games that were showcased. A few of the games that I was hoping would be there, unfortunately, was not there, but there was still some cool stuff that got revealed here and there. You want to go through a list of stuff, or do you want me to just
Yeah,
pick
but
on
before
what?
I go through like the list overall, like how did you think about the entire presentation? Because this was what the Xbox, this was the partners preview,
Yeah.
for March. Overall, what did you thought about the presentation overall?
It was okay. I mean, it had a lot of games that didn't interest me, but it also had a few standouts. Like I think the first big standout for me was the game Alters. One of many. Was it called?
That looked
Like,
really interesting.
yeah, Alters. All by myself, which was a game that actually was revealed last year, I believe. I'm not sure if it was at the Future Games Show or at Summer Games Fest, but it was one of those two. But yeah, I saw it. It was like seemed pretty intriguing, but now seeing the gameplay and the whole like premise behind the game, now I'm a little bit more interested as a game that you have to converse with versions of either your past self or what if versions of yourself.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah,
Really interesting concept.
You have to work with all those like versions of yourself in order to get off like a planet before it basically blows up or whatever. And every one of your versions of yourself have different personalities, different thoughts, different goals, different ambitions. And those goals and thoughts can conflict with other versions of yourself. So you have to manage all of versions of yourself to make sure you're all working together in order to get off the planet before it's too late.
No, I agree. When I saw about the Alters, I thought that was a very interesting game and concept. And this is a very interesting IP, like you said, to be able to play around kind of like the multiverse of yourself a little bit, and then all of you trying to work together. Like you said, everybody has their own agendas that they want to achieve. You know, everybody in terms of fighting for survival. And I also like how the idea, as these stakes get higher, it is going to be very interesting to see your alternatives. Basically, what they're going to do, are they going to get a little bit too crazy? Are they going to start sabotaging each other for the sake of their own survival? Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a very interesting game. And is it also, when in the game, I know they show, can you make your own character? Is this the type of game where you make your own character and then the game kind of makes versions of yourself, or this is just one?
I'm not too sure. That'd be really cool if you make your own character. I'll have to look into it, really.
Yeah, because that'd be cool if like you make a mic dot, but then the game, either through like some AI computer, generates different versions of you.
Yeah.
As the game goes on, and introduces those versions to you as you have to solve these missions and puzzles. At the same time, you have to balance the morale of everybody else right now that has their own agendas.
Thinking about it, I don't think it will actually, because I think there's a pretty strict narrative that's being presented from the game.
Yeah.
So you're playing as John Everyman or whatever, but there's definitely like a narrative focus that it has to stick to. So I don't think you could create your own character.
Gotcha. No, the Alters was one, and it's one of their newer games too that actually kind of they popped up through their the partners.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was like revealed like last year. Definitely, it's just like this is the first time we've ever seen gameplay.
No, yeah, I totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah. So other than that, with the games that you sat down and mentioned, I guess I'll mention the game that I actually kind of enjoyed, since you actually enjoyed it. I actually think the last game they actually previewed from Capcom, I'm gonna probably butcher this name, Kutsunu Gummy. I know I ruined that name. Totally ruined the name. The Path of the Goddess, that's actually supposed to be dropping in 2024. I thought it was kind of interesting, like the combination between action and adventure, but also has a little bit of like a RPG hybrid in terms of almost like a Final Fantasy Tactics, where you either save these villagers and you're able to kind of, train up these villagers and train them to be able to defend defend their land against these monsters. I thought this looked really interesting. I thought it was a very interesting hybrid of these different game genres that are being played. At one moment, like you said, you're playing this action adventure style game that is more akin to our Devil May Cry, and then again, like I said, going back to it, you're playing more of this almost like this tower fortress style game where you need to train up these villagers to protect the land. So it seems like it's a game that's bringing in these, this Eastern Asian mythology into it. It felt very like almost maybe from Thailand in terms of how it was presented, in terms of the monsters designs are presented. I could totally be wrong. Please let me know in the comments below.
It's hard to say. It's
totally could be wrong.
It's not Thailand. I can tell you
Japan.
that it's Japan.
Yeah, it's very Japan. Yeah, I think it's Japan. Yeah, I'm totally gonna get ripped up. But it is bringing this kind of cool mythology, maybe influenced by Japanese culture into this game, and it looked very colorful. It looked very sprice. This was one of the games I was really, really impressed with.
The pronunciation is Kinitsugami.
Kinitsugami. Thank you.
Kinitsugami. Yeah. I would say it's less tactics and more just action, mix of action and strategy, which still looks pretty cool. The whole town, the whole town and building aspect of making sure that your warriors are ready to fend off evil, and the combat. Well, I'm not too impressed by the combat, but the whole premise of being able to defend against these monsters and while working with your villagers seems like a pretty cool premise and style. And I'm not sure if you go from village to village, basically clearing the land of evil, or you stay in one place. That's more I need to look into.
It looked like you're staying more in one place, though. But I think maybe the game does give you an option to explore the land a little bit, because if you notice in the trailer, they had a daytime element where you're doing a lot of the groundwork. And then the nighttime element is where a lot of the action kind of happens with the monsters invading the town. And that's kind of where that action RPG tactics element really comes into play in protecting the town. So, different, a really interesting concept. Really, really liked that. Really liked it.
Okay, so another game that I actually was more interested in. I've seen it a couple of times here and there, but actually getting to see gameplay, I'm actually a bit more interested in now. The game called Tales of Kanzera Zao, it's like Zao, I believe it's pronounced Zao, but game that's based on African folklore, which we do not get a lot of, and I think this is the first game to actually do it in a very fantastic looking way. It's a Metroidvania, I believe, action platform style game with skill trees where you have to mix between sun and moon powers. But the gameplay looks solid. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to this one. It actually looks pretty cool, and I'm glad that there are more games trying to take from African folklore without it looking and feeling like a forced idea.
No, I saw that game too, and I actually looked really cool. And, I like how the 2D platforming game, like you said, the Metroid style Vania games are making their comeback, and they're being explored a little bit more. Just recently, Ubisoft made Prince of Persia, their version of that, last year, which I heard was very good, but never really got the sales moving, unfortunately. But it looked like a very impressive game. So to kind of see this being happen right now, and I think this also was EA. I think EA is a part of this, right?
Yeah,
was along with a couple other companies. I think it's a really cool, and it looks fun, and it looks colorful, and it looks like it's going to be enjoyable too. So I think it's another game on my list that I am definitely going to keep a lookout. If it makes its way from Xbox and maybe onto Steam down the road.
All right, so this other game that I'm not too big into Souls-like games, but I am interested in Dungeon Fighter, and this is a game that's based on the Dungeon Fighter universe, and it's the first Berserker, Kazan. Okay, so it's a game where you play as the very first Berserker in the Dungeon Fighter the Arad world. It's just pretty cool. I mean, it looks very violent and gory like a Berserker would, and I'm not too sure what the story is going for. I guess it's going to lead into the events that lead into the world of Dungeon Fighter. So, I mean, the gameplay looks pretty good though.
Yeah,
pretty cool
no, it does look good. However, when I was watching the presentation, I kind of felt like during the presentation, like, oh man, wow, man, that frames per second is dropping, really dropping in this presentation, man. Yeah. But yeah, I immediately got, like you said, Dark Souls vibes. In terms of the gameplay and maybe the possibility of the difficulty of that. And yeah, it really just kind of shows you that Dungeon Fighter is a big IP franchise that is starting to play around with a little bit of its lore and expand on other things in this game. So yeah, I thought that was definitely very interesting. A little... Again, I do enjoy the style of graphics. I think the graphics do look good. A little dark-ish. I know that's just a little weird.
Just dark game.
It's a very very moody. And it's a dark game and moody colors. I do tend to like a little bit more like bright and colorful. That's just me. But visually, it does look good. Again, it's borrowing from that Dark Souls mode. Again, I haven't really played a lot of those games myself, so but it looks good.
I mean, I am hoping that this game is very good because, if for those that don't know, this game is basically a retooled version of a game project that got canceled many years ago called Project Barbecue, which was supposed to be an online action RPG. I guess it would be in the vein of a game like Phantasy Star Online, in that kind of style, where it's just like full 3D like graphics, and then you team up with your friends to go beat up some monsters, and it was like very fast paced and very cool looking.
So kind of almost in the realm like a Phantasy Star.
Yeah, like I said, it was gonna be like a Phantasy Star style like game where you meet up with friends, you hang out on the lobby, you go out into instanced worlds and you beat up some monsters and you explore dungeons and that sort of thing. That's what they were originally planning. But I guess they didn't want to clash with their own other game that was in development, which was basically DNF Overkill, which is basically a 2.5D remake of the original Dungeon Fighter Online. It didn't make sense to have two online games of a similar nature side by side, so they decided to cancel Project Barbecue and retool this game into a Souls-like. So, I mean, I'm missing like Project Barbecue so much. I was wishing they didn't cancel it, but I completely understand why they decided to go with this instead of that. So I hope it does well, and hope the death of Project Barbecue was not in vain.
Fair enough. Totally fair enough. So with that also being said, let's kind of go through the other list of games that had some interest, maybe didn't gain much of interest. One of these games actually was a little interesting, but I was like, I'm gonna say Unknown 9 Awakening, that just kind of actually popped up.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah, which was the first game. It had some interesting gameplay elements too. I think one of the interesting gameplay elements is the fact that I don't know the character has this ability to kind of soul body pull out her soul like ghost, like soul.
You can possess people and take control of them.
Thank you. Yeah, possessing people and then control them and to complete crazy tasks in the game, which I'm also kind of wondering how what will be the extent of that power, because I feel like in games like this, it's like you can get everybody but the boss. You can't control the boss, almost in the same level of, say, like a Dishonored. I think Dishonored had those kind of abilities too in that game, if I remembered, or maybe I'm wrong on that. So
I don't think Dishonored had that
ability. I thought that
to possess
Dishonored,
people.
yeah, to be able to control. Maybe.
Actually, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
Dishonored did have that kind of game. But you know what game that I was thinking? I was thinking of Geist on the GameCube. It's a game. It's a shooting game where you do possess people. You also possess objects and move around in order to complete tasks and like do puzzles and
I do remember Geist. Yes.
Yeah.
A very
Underrated
game in the GameCube era. I will agree on that. Yeah, it had some elements to that. So yeah, I think you got like these almost like third party game elements added to that, along with this ability, this soul grab and ability into it. Yeah, I thought it looked interesting. Maybe not a game, but I think I need to wait to see more about that, which I think in the presentation they said that you can get more information on it. I think they pulled out like, yeah, you can get more if you go to their website.
Yeah, very much so.
Another game too that I want to talk about that was really interested. I thought really had a cool concept to it. Sleight of hand. I know we only got a video of it. Like, I thought this was kind of interesting. It's a stealth game that involves a witch, which kind of uses these like decks of playing cards to be able to kind of move around enemy territory. I thought it had an interesting concept to it. Again, we didn't see any real gameplay to that though, but the IP, the idea of it sounds very, very interesting. You know, to have this woman in almost like 1920-ish style and to kind of have these abilities.
Yeah, I mean, it could be cool. I don't have too much to say about it because, again, we only saw a CG trailer and not actual gameplay. But, I mean, I'll keep my eye on it. That's all I can really say.
Yeah. No, I thought it had some really cool ideas attached to it. Again, I wish they actually had opportunity to show us some more gameplay on that. So, the next game, we're going to jump past that since we talked about the altars. Creatures of Ava. I thought when game, again, this is my game, very colorful, big, bright world, almost in a Pokemon sense, where you're kind of like a Pied Piper that controls all these animals. And I assume that as the game goes on, you're going to be able to use these animals and maybe to be able to perform different tasks. Some of these animals, I assume that you're going to be able to train up to be able to fight or defend. Again, I don't have any other ideas, but that's what I'm going off based on that, though. But I thought the game looked very colorful, very open wide. Almost like a Pokemon Snap to it too, or maybe we don't do any of that stuff though. But it does seem like you're going to be able to use these characters in a number of ways to be able to kind of go through your adventure.
Yep, I mean, definitely a cool premise, I would say. Again, yeah, it's just a very cool idea of just being able to control monsters, save them, and just explore the world. I guess you're trying to. The theming is very like typical, where you're like saving the forest from devastation and like poisoning and all that stuff. I mean, I think the premise is obviously like very like done before, but just the gameplay of being able to control these creatures looks very fun.
No, I agree. I totally agree. The next thing that dropped was Roblox. I guess within the gaming world of Roblox. I was a little confused by this when it dropped. It looks like it's going to be a Gravel cross with Chucky into it. I mean, I really have nothing much to say about that.
I don't know much about what this Griefville is. Yeah, Griefville. I have no idea what this Griefville game. I guess it is some kind of Dead by Daylight like knockoff or something like that.
Is Roblox like that? No, I thought it's really a kids.
Well, we had this discussion before that.
I guess we did.
Yeah, we did have this discussion before, but Roblox is more of a platform now rather than just
something made for children.
Yeah, it's not. Like I said, there are all sorts of different in fact, they call them experiences. They don't necessarily call them games. They call them experiences that you can like try out that are completely different, and they don't have to stick to the Roblox style.
Almost kind of like what Fortnite's kind of been going.
Even more than what Fortnite has been doing, because this is like a straight up like platform where you can create your own games and experiences. Again, we talked about this like last week, where there's games that completely don't look like Roblox and are just like completely unique, and these are just like games and experiences that could be like retail products if they weren't on the Roblox platform.
I do remember having that talk, but I did not ever think that Roblox in my mind was that. I always had it in my mind as a kid's kind of like sandbox for children. Like literally that has always been in my mind.
I know. It was in my mind for a long time as well. But again, like I showed you like last week that there's games like Frontlines.
I understand that. No, I totally get that. So it kind of did through. I understand that. So forgive me if this threw me off guard. It's like when you hear the Roblox name attached to it, because again, I've talked to like mothers that have kids, like, oh, my kids love Roblox and stuff like that. It's like, really, that's a thing? Like that's insane, like that. So my mind has always been stuck to it. Yeah, I understand that we talked about that though, but yeah, a little bit shocking. Nobody gives a shit. Anyway, Frogware is another interesting game. The Sinking City 2 looks like looks like a horror game with almost like Alan Wake vibes to it. That's kind of what I took away from it. Again, another CG game. What your takes on that?
None. I don't really have any thoughts. The game didn't really like interest me, so I don't really have much to say.
Yeah.
I mean, there's quite a few. Let's just get a few of these out of the way.
Yeah.
Like Final Fantasy 14 Online coming to Xbox.
Yeah,
didn't
care about
interested. It. Stalker Collection.
Better not be like $70.
I mean, I hope not. I mean, I know it's a cherished cult classic game. I'm personally not into Stalker.
You can get that on Steam probably on like half the price.
Yeah, basically. Monster Trucks.
I care about Monster Truck. I'm a big fan of Monster Truck. I know you don't care about it. Listen. I was excited to see Monster Truck. Listen, as a kid, there used to be a demo that we used to play back when we were little kids, and it was this Monster Truck
Madness.
Monster Truck Madness. So the fact to see this pop up, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little excited about it because it rang nostalgia. This is a nostalgia trip playing that game when I was young. So to kind of see this game coming out, I kind of got giddy. No, is it popular? Does it ring on anybody's bell? No, but to see this, I may pick this game up just for nostalgia's sake, and I probably would love to sit down and play that. Have they made a lot of Monster Truck games? I feel like they have to, right? Like that's shocking.
I mean, probably there's some like fan base, some indie Monster Truck games on Steam, obviously. But games, the only
this cannot be it.
The only last Monster Truck game that I remember that was of any of note was a game called Motorstorm, and that was on the PS3. It was a launch title for the PS3.
Yes.
I mean, it had a few sequels again on the PS3 as well as the PSP. And that game featured monster trucks as well as motorcycles, cars, and just like dune buggies or whatever.
Yeah, like a crazy, I wouldn't say, it was a crazy mishmash of all of these different vehicles and stuff that you could drive through, which was pretty interesting.
And the funny thing is that the game had those insane mud physics.
Yes.
It had mud physics that just was like pretty breathtaking to see, but yeah, that's the last time I remember like a game with monster trucks that was very like well known.
That's so shocking, though. You would think, though, there'd be more games, at least more racing games that would include the monster truck franchise into it. But yeah, a little weird.
I mean, and moving on, like Persona 3 DLC, not very interested in that either. I mean, it's Persona. I'm sure it's gonna be great, but not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was what was this game like?
Frostpunk 2.
Yeah, another like it's like real time strategy. Yeah,
looks really good.
Or I think either it's real
good.
Yeah, either it's real time strategy or grand strategy. I'm not too sure. It's probably grand strategy, but again, not.
It probably is grand strategy too, because again, maybe you can give me the difference, because it seems like there's more in the game. It seems like you'll not only do you have to deal with the everyday life in the Frostpunk universe, but it also looked like I was seeing politics in play, like little moments.
But there's politics stuff like that. It plays a bit. It's probably grand strategy.
That's what I thought. Okay, it looked very grand strategy in terms of like there were scenes where they show like councils and meetings and how it affects the overall venture of the game, of the environment. But that being said, it looked very interesting. That looked really cool. I don't know if the game I might be playing anytime soon though, but it looked very interesting. So.
Yeah, not my thing. Not really into strategy games anymore. The last strategy game I played was like StarCraft, the original StarCraft, not even like StarCraft 2, just StarCraft. And I've never really been into like strategy games ever since that time. Because
I've always enjoyed strategy games. I haven't been able to get into them as long. Oh, the game that I've played recently was Constructor.
Constructor Plus,
and that was an old game back in the day. I just bought it just because I enjoyed playing Constructor in terms of the strategy element of that game. But no, it looks really interesting. It looks good. Yeah. Visually, it looks good.
Yeah, and that's basically all the games that were revealed at the partner showcase. Unfortunately, I was hoping for some news about updates to Pal World, because Bucky, who was the community manager for Pocket Pair, was eyeing the partner showcase. So a lot of people expected that there might have been like a small like announcement to it, but unfortunately there wasn't. It was just Bucky just saying, "Oh, new games to look at," and that was it. Like no announcements. I'm sure that we'll get some like new stuff soon, because I am still enjoying Pal World, even though it's starting to get a little grindy and tedious, but I'm still enjoying the game.
Okay, cool. Yeah, nothing here to say about the partner preview show from Xbox.
Yeah, it was all right. It was all right. A lot of games that didn't interest me, but the few ones that did, pretty cool stuff.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so that's basically it for this episode of this podcast. And if you liked what we do here, again, please rate, comment, and subscribe. I am Mike Dot here with Afromania, just saying peace.
Take care.